The Gavea stone has attracted attention since the discovery of Brazil. Is the stone of the crow's nest a Phoenicia sphinx? Would be a gateway to an underground realm or an extra-dimensional UFO entrance. To this day people say they've seen lights and ships landing or circling the site. This is Jose Elu. He claims that he has seen a UFO and that he also always hears reports from friends who have seen something strange flying over the rock. I'm here in Lagoon Rodrigo de Freitas. In the background, this rock that is found in the middle was Chanel in the Gavea is a place where they say there are beings from other planets obliged. This location is to have a black tip called portal. So we're after a bookshelf in the water by Wheels 214 safe album flying over, so that in that doubt it was a helicopter and it wasn't a plane. And two friends of mine also spotted target years. It was already night, so we are left with that question: is it something that is an extraterrestrial being? So I believe that the Pedra da Gavea in Rio de Janeiro has a connection totally abroad, totally known for another year of 1937. Two young researchers decide to spend the night at the Gavea rock. In the middle of the night they saw the mysterious green light coming out of a crack. Oh, it could be here. Right away the two went to that place to see what that mysterious light could be. When they entered the crevice and came across a stranger, an environment with several human statues was when a very bright new light made them both pass out. When they woke up with a clear day that they went down and tried to tell the fact to the press. A newspaper was interested in the story and agreed with them a visit to the place from which the Toulouse he left. When they returned to the place came the disappointment. Could find the crack as much less the environment where they had seen the human statues. Later the two happened and were interned in the colony Juliano Moreira in Jacarepagua, where they lived their last days, swearing to have experiencing the story that the Pedra da Gavea told the newspapers is the nice monolith whose culminating point is located in the Bar da Tijuca, extending to the neighborhoods of Joa do Itananga and São Conrado, with granite tops rising 842 meters above the level of the sea, as the largest block of stone by the sea on the planet, as one of the extreme points of the Tijuca Forest Park in one of the most spectacular viewpoints. In fiction, the Pedra da Gavea was used as the setting for several Brazilian films. In 1970, in the film Roberto Carlos and the Pink Diamond, the stone was the tomb of a Phoenician king. In the 1989 film The Clutter in the Land of Monsters, the main character, daughter of a wealthy owner of a paper industry, runs away and stops in a cave that hides the world full of monsters located inside the Gavea stone. Say that the portal found on the left side of the stone of the Gavea is a dimensional entrance to the underworld. It would be Shambhala, the capital agate, a vast underground empire that, according to its supporters, would have millions of inhabitants in several underground cities scattered across the planet, and believe that there are several entrances located in Brazil. The Pedra da Gavea is one of them. Another curiosity is the evident inscription carved in the Carioca rock that claims to be of Phoenician origin, a language Semitic known to modern scholars only through inscriptions. In 1939 an official survey was carried out on March 23. The Historical Geographic Institute of Brazil decided as the Stone of the Crow should be meticulously analyzed. A small commission was formed to study the rock, but about 130 years later, the newspaper O Globo questioned such a commission, asking if they really climb a rock or just study it using binoculars. The report given by the group said that they saw the inscriptions and also some depressions made by nature. However, nobody who sees these brands closely will agree that some kind of natural phenomenon could have caused these inscriptions to appear on the rock. In 1931, a group of hikers formed the expedition to find the tomb of the Restart that was crowned in 856 to be shot in ancient Phoenician, today Lebanon. Some amateur excavations were made without any results. 2 years later, in 1933, a mountaineer club in Rio de Janeiro organized a great expedition with 85 mountaineers that counted on the participation of the historian Alfredo dos Anjos. On January 20, 1937, right here the club organized another expedition, this time with a larger number of participants, in order to explore the face, the eyes of the head from above base using ropes. This was the first time someone explored that part of the rock after the Phoenicians in 1946 at the Brazilian Excursionist Center. They will conquer the right ear of the head, which is located in a very difficult place to reach. Any fall would be fatal to the right ear at the entrance of a cave that leads to a long and very narrow cave in the bitterness that goes to the other side of the. In 1963, the archaeologist Bernardo da Silva Ramos translated the inscriptions. Deferred to the contrary, they will look like this: shooting Phoenician firstborn base of Jediba. To the sticker was the king of fire from 855 to be up to 850, so he was the son of Jediba too. Say that the rock also has a culmination point like the small pyramid made of a single block of stone on top of the head. There are other small inscriptions that are better to be snakes of sunshine and Editether located all over the top of the mountain, and there of the supposed noses that fell a long time ago. Other archaeological sites were found in Niterói fields and Tijuca that suggest that the Phoenicians in fact about 3,000 years ago were there too. However, there are a number of problems with the alleged registration. The Phoenicians did not refer to themselves as Phoenicians, since this is an ancient Greek theme to refer to them, or more precisely, a derivation of the Greek term. Robert Frank Max, an American archaeologist, started in 1982 a series of dives to try to discover vessels shipwrecked Phoenicians and proved that Brazil and its coast were visited in the not-too-distant past by the boats of this Semitic civilization in the east. Medium. The shooting Phoenicians and Sidon did not find any sunken ships but discovered something very important, not for as in other Phoenician pieces. In January 1983, Max returned to Brazil after a series disagreements with the Brazilian government. He was banned from exploring the place, and the Brazilian Navy covered the place with mud to prevent it from being looted. The Marquis even said the following: Brazilians do not care about the past and they do not want to replace Cabral as discoverer. The pieces, with a capacity of 36 liters, are kept by the Brazilian government in a secret location, affirmed newspaper O Globo in news published in September 23, 1982. According to academic history, there were no contacts between the peoples of the Middle East and the Americas before the exploitation of Christopher Columbus in 1492 descending. However, there is much evidence that people from the Middle East and also Right and megalithic people like many calculations have had sporadic contacts with South America since the time of the Sumerians. The theory of Sumerian contact is supported by both elements of linguistic similarity of the ancient Sumerian language with the Aymara language still spoken today in Bolivia, and two very special artifacts that were found near Lake Titicaca at Magna Front, and a monolith of Little Strip, both with Sumerian inscriptions that were deciphered by the epigraph the American Clyde Winters. The theory of occasional discovery is supported by the fact that the ancient peoples, in this case the Sumerians, may have circled Africa from the Red Sea going for the first time to Cape of Good Hope. After arriving in the Cape Verde archipelago, however, the headwinds pushed them to Brazil, and thus they would have reached the basin of Amazon River. According to this theory, the second group of browsers that came occasionally for Brazil, it was the Phoenicians, and left much more archaeological evidence and linguistic phonemes in the languages in South America, such as Tupi-Guarani, where the first proponents of the theory of the presence of the ancients Phoenicians in Brazil was an Austrian history teacher, Ludwig Chan, in someone in his book Ancient History of Brazil, quoting studies of Thorzy Ramsay IV that described the king's travels around shooting or their Solomon and Judea to the estuary of Amazon River. According to Shu, in someone, the Tupi-Guarani language would have the same origin as the languages of the Middle East, in particular show many similarities with the Sumerian language with regard to the archaeological evidence and documents that prove the arrival and presence of ancient Phoenicians for Brazil. It is necessary to consider the issue of the Paraíba stone that was discovered in 1872 in High Landing, Paraíba. The stone was divided into 4 pieces and was never recovered, but the cup of the inscriptions that, according to the discoverers, were carved on it was sent to the Viscount of Sapucaí, who was the president of the city of Rio de Janeiro. Initially the transcript was declared a scam, but later in 1960 the IPCA for Cyrus Gordon said that the Phoenician text that was reproduced on the Paraíba stone could not be a farce, because he reported grammatical concepts of the Phoenician language that were still unknown in 1872. When knowledge of the ancient language of the Middle East and in the world is still very limited, so the stone of the Gavea is in fact a evidence that logic as well as the stone of Inga. Some studies have already been done in Brazil and confirmed the presence of Phoenician colonizers in the north and northeast of Brazil. Studies by Bernardo de Azevedo da Silva Ramos and Ludwig China on someone. The governed archaeologist of Azevedo collected more than 1,500 photos gathered in the valuable Huge Rare Book on Inscriptions and Traditions of Prehistoric America that proposes through dropping epigraph analysis of rock inscriptions colonization set secrets in north-northeast Brazil. His studies took place mainly in the state of Amazonas. Auto and garbage accumulation in someone gathered in the book Pictures Drawings Evidence. Languages that prove the presence of Greeks and Phoenicians in northeastern Brazil. Researched an area called Seven Cities, which he said was not a rock formation but a man-made fortress. Also proved that many natives called themselves faces. Caril. Cariri were the dear Brazilians from Phoenician and Greece. And the shamans called the white Portuguese priests Carlos Cariba, the white man. Another interesting evidence is the hollow word the house of the Indians, as the Greek ika was kaka, that also you mean home. An example, the word carioca, case of whites or house of offices. Many climbers have died over the years trying to climb the rock or have raised suspicions that the tomb of the restart with everyone. Your treasures can really be inside it, as the number of victims would be the result of the curse placed on those who dare to violate the place. From the burial of the restart until today, the stone of the Gavea is a great time and